Hey everybody, this is Matt and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for watching. You know, in the last month where I did a video every single day for the month of October, I got a bunch of questions about necks and neck woods and neck angles and neck this, that, and the others. And I thought it would be a good thing to do kind of take you guys through some of what processing a neck blank actually looks like in my world, and maybe that will help you guys do some neck processing in your world, and maybe give you guys some ideas about tools that you need and materials that you want to source, and maybe even some places where you want to source some of that material and tools from. So in my hand here I have a neck blank from Dan and Calvin at Tonewood Experts. Now this is a standard mahogany neck blank. Let me get a tape measure. And this neck blank is 30 inches long by 3 3/8 wide by 4 1/2 inches tall. And I want to keep those measurements what they are. In other words, I want the height to be from here to here, not from here to here. The reason that I want the height to be that way is so that my grain is oriented as vertically as possible, okay? A lot of people get quarter sawn and vertical grain mixed up. That's a discussion for another video that frankly I've already made a number of times. I don't know if this is a vertical grain piece of lumber. It might be when you hold it like this. It might not be when you hold it like this. I don't know if this is quarter sawn. I don't believe it is. I think this is probably just 12 quarter mahogany, which means that before surfacing, it's 3 inches or 12 quarter, okay? If that's the case, then this is probably flat sawn lumber, okay? Because if this were 8 quarter mahogany, it would look like this. And then you turn it on its side, and all of a sudden it becomes vertically oriented. Again, this is kind of a discussion for another time. And frankly, I don't need to get the pushback from you guys that I seem to always get when I talk about quarter sawn versus vertically oriented lumber. Okay. In any event, this is a neck blank from Dan and Calvin at Tonewood Experts. And what we are going to do is we're actually going to process this and get 2 neck blanks from this. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half. This is the, we're going to be using this neck template that I got from my good buddy Steve over at Maximum Guitar Works. He makes all of our templates for us now for our Challenger guitars and our Icon guitars and a bunch of other guitars that we do in the workshops at 5280 Lutherie Academy. You need to know that this template is going to look like this. This is how we're going to orient it. We're not going to orient it like this. And all of my necks need to be processed to be 1 1/2 inches tall. So in other words, this guy here needs to be 1 1/2 inches tall. And we want to cut it so that the grain will be oriented vertically in relation to the fretboard, okay? So like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chop this in half. We're going to cut this down the center, and we're going to get 2 neck blanks from this 1 neck blank. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to draw this center line, or my cut line here. Remember, I've got just over 4 inches, so I want to come, let's see, I think it's about 2 1/8, which is way over my 1 1/2 minimum that I need. So, and as you can see, it's probably not 2 1/8 here and 2 1/8 here and all the way down, but this gives me more than 1 1/2 inches of material on both sides. So I'm going to cut this line out, and then I'll have 2 neck blanks. All All right, the reason that I drew a line on here rather than trusting my fence on my bandsaw is because I've stopped trusting my fence on my bandsaw. If your bandsaw tracks better than mine, you absolutely should trust it, or if you have a good table saw, but I found it easier to just draw a line and then cut it close using the bandsaw without the fence. All right, now I have two more or less identical neck blanks that are oversized, vertically oriented, and these guys are ready to process down and make neck blanks. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to flatten one of the faces on the joiner. I like to put witness marks on the wood so that I know I get everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this board across my jointer until this gets a nice flat surface. As you can see, I still have one patch there that needs to come down. I get my one side planed down nice and flat and perfect, I like to mark it. This is going to come in handy for the next step. So just to recap, that last tool segment, we used the jointer. Actually, before we did that, we started with a block of wood that was this thick. We cut it in half, and we ran one side of each board over the jointer. The jointer has blades on the bottom and an offset table, an infeed table, and then the blades, and then the outfeed table. The idea is that the infeed table is lower than the outfeed table, and the blade is at the same height as the as the outfeed table. So it cuts, the blades cut the portion going from the infeed table through the blade onto the outfeed table, and it makes a nice, perfectly straight, flat surface. And we have put a little check mark with a circle on each side. Now, this side is flat, this side is flat. We could glue these guys together and they would look kind of like we didn't do anything because they're nice and flat and smooth. There's no snipe anywhere on here. They're nice and flat and smooth. Like I said, these would be more or less ready to glue if we wanted to glue something to this side. However, the other side, the opposite side, is neither flat nor smooth nor, and this is really important, parallel to the side that we just ran across the jointer. So what we want to do is we want to make it flat, smooth, and parallel to the side that we just ran through the joiner. If we ran the opposite side through the joiner, it would be guaranteed to be flat and smooth. There'd be no guarantee that it would be parallel to the surface we just planed, okay? There are probably ways to do that, but I have found that the best way to do it is to buy a planer, and that's what we're gonna do next. Now I'm standing in front of my Grizzly planer. It's a cool tool because the blades are on the top and the in-feed and out-feed are at the same height, which means that when we run this through, when we run the neck blanks through, they will be, the surfaced side will be parallel to the side that we just ran across the joiner. Cool? I hope that makes sense. Okay, and because my Grizzly vacuum cleaner has a remote control, I can do it remotely. Okay, so we're just gonna send both of these guys through the planer and get them to approximately the right thickness, but more importantly, parallel to the side that we ran through the joiner. All right, both of my boards have come through the planer and now they are surfaced on the opposite side of the surface that went through the joiner. Want to know how I know? Because the joiner side still has the little check mark with the circle. So now my planed side has been surfaced and is parallel to the joined side. So this is the joined side here. This is the plain side here. They're both nice and flat and smooth, and more importantly, they're parallel with each other, okay? However, it is not unheard of for this planer to leave something called snipe, and I'm going to try to get it in the camera here so you can see it. Okay, right here you can kind of make out a little line. There's a slight depression in the board right here. You can feel it and you can kind of see it. You can spend a lot of time trying to get your planer to eliminate snipe. There's a lot of things that you can do to get it to go away, but I have found that one of my favorite things to do is just run it through my thickness sander, because it does two things. One, it gets rid of all that snipe, and two, it gives me a surface that is sanded with 60 grit, which I think makes a far better glue surface for my fretboard. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the thickness sander, which operates almost exactly like the planer, except for instead of a helical cutting head on top, it has an abrasive wheel on top, and I'm going to send the pieces through with the joined side down and send them through so that the abrasive wheel surfaces the previously the side that previously went through the planer, and it's going to give me a nice smooth surface to that is snipe free. That's going to be a great surface to glue my fretboard onto, and I'm going to take these boards down to the exactly right thickness that they need to be. But I probably am not going to do that in this video because I'm not going to be using these necks until probably a couple weeks from now. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys the sanding process, but I'm not going to take them down to 1.5 inches. I'm just going to leave them whatever thickness they are now. And then when I come back in a couple weeks, I'll be able to come back, get them down to exactly the right thickness. They'll be nice and straight and flat, and everything will be wonderful. But for the purposes of this video, sending them through the thickness sander is what we need to do. Okay, gang, I want to remember to make sure that I'm putting my joined side down, because I want to abrade the opposite side. This is going to do almost exactly the same thing that the planer did, only smoother and slower. All right. I'm going to send these guys through one more time without changing anything, just to make sure that they're both the same thickness. So let's recap a little bit. We started with a great big neck blank from Tonewood Experts, and we got 2 usable neck blanks out of that. Fortunately, as you can see by my template here, they are exactly the perfect size to use with my Challenger or American Icon neck. Funny how that kind of works, huh? Maybe it is possible I designed my headstock so that this standard lumber would work with the width of my headstock. Okay, so the first thing that we did was we cut them in half, we bisected them, we joined one edge, and then that's the one with the little check mark and the circle. Then we planed the opposite edge so that it was nice and smooth and flat, and more importantly, parallel with the other side. Then we sent that exact same side through the thickness sander, got rid of any snipe left by the planer, and provided me with a nice 60 grit sandpaper scratch smooth glue surface for my fretboard. Now remember, I didn't take these all the way down to 1.5 inch because I'm not going to use them right away. I think that's probably a good thing to consider, is if you do this and let these sit for a while, it's probably a good thing, because if they move at all, if they cup, if they do something like that, you've still got a little bit of material, a little bit of meat that you can resurface and rejoin and replane and resand and get everything nice and flat on the off chance that some of this dry lumber that you get from Dan and Calvin starts kind of shimmying around. Now, as you can imagine, that's how you do a one-piece neck. If you want to do a 3-piece neck like this blank here, well, that's a video for another time. But I like one-piece necks just as much as I do 2-piece and 3-piece and 9-piece and 50-piece necks. I guess you gotta realize that the fretboard is a piece too, but let's just talk about the actual neck wood itself, not the fretboard. I like one-piece neck blanks. They're definitely easy to work with. As you guys can see, if I was ready to start making these necks, I could cut those in half and get these ready, plop this dude on there and cut them out, and I would have necks. I wouldn't have to do a lot of work like I have to do when I'm assembling a multi-laminate neck. So, if you have any questions about what we did in this video or any of the tools that we use, please leave them in the comment section down below. If you like this kind of thing, I would urge you to join us on Patreon or join us on YouTube and become a member of my emotional support team on Patreon and YouTube. Even $1 a month goes a long way to helping me bring you guys cool stuff like this. Further, and to that end, a new video series I'm going to be starting for members only will be a neck through series of workshops where I will show you guys how I make the neck blanks for the neck through, and we're going to walk you all the way through all the nuances on the woodwork of making a neck through just for fun, because I think it will be a cool thing to do, and that will be for members only. So until next time, this is Matt at Texas Toast reminding you that if you're so smart, start your own YouTube channel. That's what I did. And have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.